Hey everyone, JR here from HolyFaith Media, and today I wanted to come on and give my opinion as to where I stand on Medjugorje and specifically the apparitions that have been claimed to be taking place since, 1981 or 84 or whichever year it is, and also on the Divine Mercy Chaplet, because I think the two sort of tie in together. So first off, let me say that as a Catholic, my duty is to believe as the Church teaches. If the Church approves of something, then I approve of it. I may not practice it. I may not personally include something in my spirituality, but it is not for me to determine whether it is good or bad for the salvation of a soul. And in regards to the Medjugorje apparitions, I know that there are people that are passionate on both sides of this issue. Traditional-minded Catholics, they tend to, for the most part, be against any divine origin of the apparitions at Medjugorje. Many people that go to the Novus Ordo parishes, I would say probably a majority of them that are in the know about the apparitions, generally tend to believe in them, and some even promote them. I have good friends, good Catholic friends, that have been to Medjugorje, and some have claimed to have certain supernatural experiences there, or at least they've come away with a peace or a strengthening of their faith. And I'm not going to sit here and say that those things didn't necessarily happen. But what I am going to say is that I've had what I thought, at least anyway, were supernatural experiences or a strengthening of my faith in Protestant churches. As I've said in many other videos, I was not a Catholic all my life. In fact, it's only been about 11 years now that I've been a Catholic. And I must say that I've been to Pentecostal churches that now I recognize are heretics and promote a number of heresies. But I definitely had an emotional swelling of love towards God. In fact, some of the best experiences I've ever had in my Christian faith were at non-Catholic churches. But that doesn't mean that I have to approve, and I can recognize that somehow maybe God used these sects or my experience in them to strengthen my faith without necessarily promoting their various errors and heresies. Perhaps. So, in response to the Medjugorje question, my view is this. Two bishops of the diocese, I believe it's Mostar or something like that, have condemned it. And I don't claim to be an expert on Medjugorje or the Divine Mercy or anything of that nature. But I do know that two of the bishops have said that there was nothing supernatural happening in the revelations to Mariana. So that's where I stand on it. Because the bishop, you see, has the competent authority within his diocese to make such a judgment. And therefore, that's the position that I hold. Now, it seems to be that there's considerable debate happening, and there's rumblings in Rome that, they've been investigating this, and investigations have been going on for years. So I'm certainly open to changing. I mean, we know that the Divine Mercy Chaplet, for example, or the messages of Saint Faustina, specifically her booklet, The Divine Mercy, was for a time condemned by the Church and then later on approved under John Paul II. And there are traditional-minded Catholics today, who are adamant that there is nothing supernatural about the Divine Mercy, and some would even say that it's perhaps even demonic. But where I sit with the Divine Mercy is the Church approves it. At the end of the day, whether we like our bishop or we do not, whether we like the current pope or we do not, if the Church approves of it, then it must at the very least be permissible. It may not be prudent, it may not be the best thing for a soul to practice it. There may be nothing that a soul will get out of saying the Divine Mercy Chaplet, but nonetheless, if the Church approves of it, it has the authority to make such a judgment. And I do not. As a believer, I do not have that authority to make such a statement. So, in the future, if Medjugorje is approved by the Church, then certainly I would tend to believe in it, and I would tend to give it the benefit of the doubt if the Church approves of it. But as of now, I can't do that because the local bishop is the one who makes the judgments on such matters, and therefore that's the end of the story until we move on. And that's not to take away from any of the experiences that people have had there. I believe it's Father Mark Goring, who is a priest that I respect very much, and I'm sure many of you people watch. If I'm not wrong, he promotes Medjugorje, or he at least tends to believe in Medjugorje, and he's talked about it in a number of his videos. And I'm not here to say that he's necessarily wrong. I think that the Church definitely needs to clarify this matter in Medjugorje, because there's been a mass of messages or apparitions, and it's an endless amount of material that needs to be sorted through to see if these things are true or if they come from God or if they do not. So that's my position. I hope that clarifies it for people as to where I stand on these things. But I'm not one of these hardened traditionalists who just want to argue for the sake of arguing, and I don't want to reject something just for the sake of rejecting it. But from when you get back to the meat of the argument, I think that as a Catholic, there's nothing that you can really do except go by the judgment of the local bishop. Some people will point to me and say, well, you're a hypocrite because you don't treat Archbishop Marcel Lefebvre, for example, in the same manner that you do with Medjugorje. But the argument is entirely different with Archbishop Marcel Lefebvre, and specifically the 1988 consecrations. There's a very strong argument, and many good Catholics, canon lawyers, such as John Salza, for example, have shown that there is a very valid argument for why he made those consecrations. Because the canon law, the Code of Canon Law, leaves room for a bishop who believes that there's a grave state of necessity in performing consecrations, even though the Holy Father did not approve of them. So it's a very different argument, and I hate somebody sitting there and throwing that in my face, because they obviously don't understand the position that people that are pro-SSPX, I guess you would say, or pro-1988 consecrations, they don't understand the argument. So I hope that clarifies a little bit. Maybe I should have gotten into the Divine Mercy argument a little bit more. I personally don't say the Divine Mercy. I don't even know the words of it, to be quite honest. I would really struggle to try to get through it and pray it. But I know that there's many Catholics who do pray it. Some claim that it strengthens their faith. And I'm not one to sit here and say that it is not to be said, because the Church approves of it at the end of the day. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you'll join me again soon, and that's all for now.